So the scribes and the Pharisees are trying to catch Jesus in, as it were, a catch-22, a riddle that has no answer. That if he says, stone her, as the law of Moses says, then they can go to the Roman authorities and say, he's condoning that we have death penalty and only the Romans can do it while you're in control here. And so he would get in trouble with the Romans. If he says, no, do not stone her, spare her life, have mercy, then they'll go to the people and say, he doesn't care for the law of Moses. And so they're in the catch-22. And then he gets out of it very simply by saying, let the one among you who is without sin be the first to throw a stone at her. And so it would be they who would invoke the penalty of Rome if they throw stones. And also they who have to admit their own sinfulness, at least in the sight of the people, if they don't. And the elders pick up on this and quickly, and they realize, so they take off to save face. But what struck me was this moment where Jesus goes down and writes on the ground with his finger. Does this twice. And there have been pages and pages and pages spilt of ink about what Jesus was writing on the ground. Some claim that he was writing the sins of the scribes and the Pharisees on the ground. That doesn't seem right to me. The Jesus who is looking to bring forgiveness and mercy, to then say, hey, look at your own sins. Hey, everyone, look at this person's sins or this person. That doesn't seem like Jesus to me. Some say that he was writing scripture on the ground. And, we'll only find out when we get to heaven, because John does not record it. And obviously, whatever he was writing is not important for us for salvation. Why? Because if it were important for us for salvation, John would have recorded what he was writing on the ground. So what was he doing? And I think a few things might have been going on. One, there's a certain mob mentality. When people get together, we can see this online, but we see this also when there's a mob mentality in person. There's this energy that's going there. And by stopping and writing on the ground and not responding to them, he's slowing the pace of the mob. They have to, their inertia gets checked. And now they have to start actually thinking about, what am I doing? I think about the genocide in Rwanda back in the 90s and how neighbors were killing neighbors. And it was only afterwards that they suddenly realized, what did I do? What was I part of? These people who were my friends, and I killed them. I was part of this mob. And so Jesus stopping and slowing the mob down. But also, and I think this is also important, this woman is brought into the very center of the crowd, right? And so everyone's eyes are on her. And what does Jesus do? Something completely unexpected. Now everyone's eyes are on Jesus. Wait, what is he doing? And maybe they have the same curiosity that all of us do as we're saying, what is he writing on the ground? As all these mountains of books have been spilled trying to figure that out. And all these people saying, what is he writing on the ground? Now they're no longer focused on the woman and her shame. Isn't that what Jesus does for us? He says, look at me. Look at what I've done for you. Do you see my love for you? Then I think a third thing that he was doing was he was trying to get the woman's attention. In the midst of all this, if you were brought into the center of a crowd for something that you shamefully did, would you be looking around at the crowd, staring into their eyes? I know I wouldn't be. What I'd be doing is I'd be like this. So Jesus went to where her eyes were, down on the ground, trying to get her attention. When everyone leaves, and it's just Jesus and this woman, there she is, able to look into his eyes. And he says, I do not condemn you. I do not condemn you. And this is Jesus' love for us. You know, in the first reading, we hear about Susanna, and we hear about how God is the defender of the innocent, of the righteous. In the gospel, we hear that Jesus is the defender of the guilty. If we but throw our sin into his arms, the amazing thing, Jesus says to St. Faustina, the greater the sinner, the more right that person has to my mercy. The more right we have to God's mercy. Here, he who does not condemn us. But we have to be willing to surrender our sin to him, to place it into his hand. We ask the Lord this day for that grace, for the grace in the midst of our shame, in the midst of our guilt, to be able to surrender our sin to the God who has come and taken shame upon himself, took upon all of our guilt on the cross. He says, hand it over to me. Give it to me. I will wash you clean. I will not condemn you.